Hello, 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 everyone. I'm Eliza Bloom Robinson, and this is a new episode of Voices for a New Humanity. Voices for a New Humanity are conversations about the new that is happening right here and right now on this planet. We call it New Humanity because it has a very different, expanded consciousness, a dimension of being even where love and light are the foundations, but also connection and compassion and innovation and creativity. And there's all kinds of new things happening. And so I've been having these conversations with some brilliant, brilliant, brilliant people about how they're experiencing new humanity. And so my guest today is, one of my favorite people. She's just delightful. Her name is Dr. Kerry Kott. And I've known Kerry for maybe a year and a half or so, and we've done a lot of really powerful work together. But here's what I know about Kerry. She is a doctor of Chinese medicine. She is a quantum being. She plays in the new and has been playing in the new since I've known her. She is a global traveler. Shortly after I met Kerry, she took off on this grand adventure and she lived out of a suitcase, as far as I know, for like a year and a half in all kinds of different countries and locations. And Kerry lives her beingness. Kerry's beingness is adventurous and creative and oh so much fun. So I welcome you, Kerry. Thank you for being here today with me.
Thank you for having me so much, Eliza, so much.
Yes, absolutely. So when we're talking about new humanity and we're talking about I guess how people experience it, like how are you experiencing new humanity now? Like what's showing up for you currently that might be different?
Yeah, so this is so juicy for me right now because even before we had this particular conversation, I just got the message of this is what needs to be shared. And it's so what's in my now, of course. Right? Those align. And what's really been showing up for me and how I'm experiencing new humanity is for a while, I feel like I've been the observer and just watching myself interact with humanity in the context of it's divided. Like there's the people who get it and there's the people who don't get it. And I put myself over here in the category, the people who get it, right? Like get what, right? Get like who we really are, that there's more that meets the eye, like the magic, the beauty, all of this. And I'm like, I see it. And I do to a certain extent. And I feel like I've just been watching it and watching what I see, like my fellow spiritual people to a certain extent, talking to an audience that is like, they don't get it. And this is my context being seen within them as well. And I just feel like I've been in that space and it's been on repeat and I've been watching it. I've been wanting to like do something about it. And at first I thought it was like, well, I need to go tell these people, like, if you keep doing this, you'll just get more of that. But every time, I know, right? Every time, Eliza, that I felt to go do that, it just didn't feel right. And I was like, that just seems more of it. That's more of what I have going on about humanity, about the world. And even though like, it'll still like pop up, like, wait a second. And for me, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to do that. Ew, if I go out there sharing that and saying this to these particular individuals that I see, I'm just repeating. And so I've had to not do that. So that's a part of experiencing the new humanity is like not doing that action that then just adds more momentum to what I don't want.
Exactly.
And for so long, I've been like, I know the world that really exists. And now it's like, I have to actualize that world within myself. It's not about going to be the dictator to somebody else to show them, look, I got something over here that like you should see. But like, wait a second, how do I discover and continue to allow that new humanity to exist here, now,
Right now.
right now,
Right.
right
Right.
now.
So there's so much richness in what you just said, but I'm just going to repeat it because it bears repeating. It's like, if I know there's a new humanity, but all of my focus is on how these people aren't getting it, what am I going to see more of? I'm going to see more of they're not getting it. But yet when we put that mirror up, like, wait a minute, maybe I'm not getting it. But one of the things that's like, right, that's pretty consistent over all of these conversations is it is such a different place. It is such a pivot from what we've known to what we know, from who we've been to who we're becoming. Not that it's in the future, because it's right here, right now. But you don't see it until you see it. And you don't feel it until you feel it. One of the things too that you said that I want you to speak more into, because I've witnessed you doing this for as long as I've known you, is that magic. It's that magic. It's like when you are lined up. So I'm going to say my language and then you say it in your language. When you are lined up, like if you're in a place, somewhere in all of the world and it's not working very well, and then you go, oh, wait a minute, where am I? And you line up with yourself, with the essence of who you are, with spirit, with source, then magic happens.
Yeah. So in my language,
right,
it's, for me, no matter how or what the conversation is for me, it's like a stepping back. It is that aligning. It's aligning with self, but normally it's a step back. And I don't mean it's just, when you step back to get a different perspective and you stop, instead of keep moving forward, I step back. Yeah, it doesn't become like, oh, it's like, whoa, like drop everything, like literally physically drop everything. Wait a sec. And I've done that. I've had things in my hand where I'm like, oh, just drop it. Literally let go of everything and just be still, step back. Okay. And that's the moment that I have a conversation with myself. And it's usually just like, okay, something's happening. What now? And so it's that alignment. And that's the words that I use too. It's the aligning with who I really am. And it's, wait a second, something's happening. What's there to do? Stop. Just take a moment within myself. And then I hear, and then I feel, and I listen. And then it's like, it's that magic. It's that magic. When I was in Chile, I just remember I was like, how am I going to get on this plane? Like, they didn't show any seats for me. I was flying standby. I was like, this doesn't look like it. And I was kind of like, it's 2.5 hours away. What do I do? Like, and it was just like, okay. And I just stopped.
Step back, drop, right? Step back, drop it all.
Drop it all. And in an emotional, energetic, physical sense too. Like, and I just was like, okay, well, what now? Like, what? And then there became this space to hear differently, to see differently. And I heard, do you want to get on that plane? And I was like, yeah, I do. I want to get on that plane and I want to go to Florida. Like, okay, well, what does a person who gets on that plane behave like? And I was like, well, I'll continue packing my stuff. And then I heard, get on that bus early. And so I was like, I'm going to get on that bus early. and I'm going to go to the airport because that's somebody who's getting on that flight. That's what they would do. But there was that dropping, and not like I need to figure this out, but it was like what I need to align.
Yeah. And that's such a different distinction, because you've been a client for a long time. So it's so fun for me to hear some of my words coming out of your mouth. I'm like, oh yeah. But it is like the new humanity is almost like it is a new dimension of living, but you can't figure it out. It's not about figuring it out. And so when you drop and when you step back and when you land in that place, what happens that opens you up that you can listen? How does that listening show up for you? Because it's a very different, I know, and I know, but the difference between I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to push through, I'm going to make it happen, versus there's such a surrender in there. But what happens in you when you do that?
So typically there's an initial just listening, like, okay, what needs to be heard? That's something that happens. Not like I got to figure it out, but like something's going on here. And it's a space to listen. What has me in the space that I'm in, to where I'm like, not sure I'm going to make the flight. Am I doing the right thing? Whatever's showing up is like, wait a second. What's going on here, Kerry? Like, delivering compassion in that stopping, but just listening. What is there that gets to be heard, acknowledged, not to do anything like, oh, that's so wrong, shouldn't be thinking that, but just, what is it?
Yeah.
What's going on here? And just like you would, like a little kid, and be like, what happened?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, what happened, Kerry? And then I listen to whatever I have to share. And it's like as if, it's like there's this complete opening that just like comes through the front, through the back, around, and it just, and all that's there is source, God, the universe. And it doesn't become about this thing. It's that whatever that was just had this space to go, just to be acknowledged, and no longer become something. And I think that is what happens, is that it just no longer becomes something. It just becomes, and it just is. Like, I'm not sitting here irritated with this grass here that I'm sitting on. It's just the grass being. There's a space of just being with the grass, and like that emotion or whatever that was just gets to be. And it doesn't get seen as a separateness or as an agitation. It just is dissolved. There we go. It's dissolved.
Yeah. Yeah. In listening and hearing and acknowledging and allowing, it just dissolves, which then opens up the space. The other thing you said that I so love is, if I were the person that were on that plane, who would I be being? Right? And then there's that being first. And if I was a person who knew I was on the plane, I wouldn't be frantic. I would just be present, right? So the space in your energetic field is really clean.
Yeah. And so to me, that shows up, the words that come together are act in accordance, like act in accordance of what that looks like. And you know, the thing is, Eliza, I got to that airport, I heard go stand at that gate. I was like, I don't normally do that. It's like, no, you go, you be. And it was so cool, because I just got this, like, you go be seen. You go have your presence there. You don't sulk away in the corner. It wasn't necessarily that if I was sitting in the corner, I was sulking, but it was like, you be seen, and you go stand there. And I went to introduce myself to the check-in ladies, even though it was like, they're really busy. And it's like, you go just say, hey, this is who I am. I'm on standby. You just go do it. And I was like, okay. And so I did it. And I stood there for like, I don't know how long. And then they called the standbys, and I'm still standing there, and I was like, I know how many seats are on this plane, and they called them already. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, I don't have a seat for you, but do you want to try? And I was like, do I? And so I was like, yeah, because guess what? I was like, I have a seat on that plane. So what do? I take that ticket that gets me through security, and I go to that airplane. I go to that spot, and that's what I did. And I ended up getting a seat on the plane. Minutes before, but it was just like, aligning with it.
It is. And the piece too, it sounds like, is you knew you were on the plane, but you also didn't have an attachment to it. Like if you didn't get on the plane, there'd be another one tomorrow or the next day or whenever. It's like there was no frantic, no grasping in that. It's like my word for this year is miraculous outcomes. So it's like, oh, well, of course, I know there's no seat on the plane, and I know I have a seat on the plane. So it's not up to me to figure that out. It's like this alignment with this expectation and this intention, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Of course I'm on the plane.
Yeah. And the work that we did together was just nestled me in more and more into that focus, into that knowing, because it was just like the work of like poof, 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 poof. Like how quickly things shift.
Yeah.
And just go diving, like it's like diving deeper, but being more and more focused in that knowing. It's like, even if I have a wobble, because I did have some like wobble in that thought of like, am I going to get on? And like, what do I do? Am I supposed to go somewhere else? And it was just like, align in.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned the work, because the work that we did, because we're not talking a lot about my work in these conversations, but it is like clearing the space so that when you land in that space, it is clear. It's not filled with the density of old thoughts, old patterns, old beliefs, old attachments. It's just clean and clear. It's like the fine tuning of the radio to the essence of who you are, connects you to source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what I see so much in the magic. Like there's so much magic in shifting anything that I'm feeling that doesn't feel quite right, or feeling off, or sad or angry, or whatever emotions there that I'm like, something's happening. When I just stop and be with myself and just acknowledge whatever's there and just listen, that's the work that we did together, where in the moment of just there it is, and being with it in whatever way that calls, because sometimes it's different. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like there's a bunch of tears that are going to come out, and I give myself the space to cry, and it's like, dry tears? That seemed way worse, but the space of just being with it.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of being a new humanity, is like this self-compassion, like this space to be, which also is like, I have so much more capacity to be with others.
Yeah.
And whatever's showing up, it's like, wait a second. I don't need to be like, I don't need to have a response to this. I don't even need to be like, wow, they don't get it.
Like where we started.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Like, wait a second.
Right?
Like I can give myself grace and them grace in the same space.
And the truth is, you can't give them grace until you experience grace for yourself.
Yeah.
And that is new humanity.
Absolutely.
And aspect of new humanity. I just so love you. I just, you're just so much fun. And I'm so happy that you're here today. If you want to find out more about Kerry and all of her work, all of the links are right there. And look her up and follow her, and you will just be so incredibly blessed. Kerry Kott, Dr. Kerry Kott. I'm Eliza Bloom Robinson, and this is A Voices for New Humanity. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.